So welcome back to another rebuild here on NBA 2K25 Next Gen. In today's video, we are back with another episode of our Curry era rebuild series, and today it's going to be the Charlotte Hornets. In the history of the Charlotte Hornets, there have not been a lot of great years. I think that kind of goes without being said, and this one was no exception. This was a team that went 36-46. They were led by Kemba Walker, and really were just never anything close to being competitive. So my goal today is to obviously change that, right? We have Kemba Walker leading this team. He's one of the better point guards in all of basketball, and hopefully today we can get him some help, whereas the Hornets in real life were nowhere close to doing that. And as I'm sure many of you are aware, this is the final rebuild of the Curry era. This is the 30th and final team. My apologies, Hornets fans, for it taking so long and it being the last one. But at this point, you guys know the drill. I'm looking for series ideas, challenges, one-off videos, anything you guys are really looking to see. Let me know down below in the comment section. Obviously, we're in a super weird part of the NBA season right now where slowly but surely we'll be able to eventually get into some 2025 off-season rebuilds. But, you know, up until that point, I really need some things to do. So anything you guys want to see, let me hear it all down below in the comment section. Once again, thank you guys for all the support on this series. Seems like you guys greatly enjoyed it. So I'm excited for this one today, man. Let's make it a good one. Hopefully cap things off with a bang. Ready to go here for a rebuild 30 out of 30 here in the Curry era. As I just mentioned in the intro, I've had a lot of fun with this series. And once again, thank you guys all so much for sticking with me and watching all throughout these couple of months where we've been doing this one. But let's get into this final one here today, of course, at the beginning of the 2016-17 season with the Charlotte Hornets. This team is not talented. 36-46 was the record in real life. They were 11th in the Eastern Conference, and it was just kind of the story of the mid-2010s Hornets. Not that it's any better right now, because it's not, but you know what, man? We're going to try to change that up today. Let's talk about this roster. Now, you know, we are using a user-created roster, so there are some more players that are here, whereas if we were using, you know, the 2K-created roster, there are a few less guys, but there are still some notable names missing. You know, notable, I guess, being the key word there. That being Michael Kidd-Gilchrist along with Marvin Williams. I mean, those are just the two biggest names I saw kind of right off the rip. But we have some pretty good depth here. Let's get into it. Let's talk about it. Kemba Walker, of course, the best player on this team, was the face of this franchise for many, many years. He's only 26 years old right now. It was really sad to see, you know, really where his career ended up, man. It was just kind of a lot of injuries and everything like that. It's a tough sport to play if you're kind of undersized, where Kemba, of course, only 6'1". So had a very successful career, man. Obviously one of the best bargain contracts in the league at this time. You know, we're not in today's NBA where it feels like everybody's making north of $20 million annually, but $12 million a year for how great Kemba Walker was at this point, that's a really, really big steal. So we're certainly going to use that to our advantage here today. Now, behind him, we have 30-year-old Ramon Sessions. I'm not really sure what we're going to do here. You know, he's not a bad backup point guard option for one season, but he is expiring. So that's certainly something we'll keep an eye on. You can ignore the two, you know, user-created players here as well. Now we head to the shooting guard spot. It's a user-created Jeremy Lamb. He's only 23 at this point, 74. I'm not really sure. He's not like a perfect mold of actual Jeremy Lamb, so I'm not really sure what his numbers will look like, but we'll kind of keep an eye on that as things do end up progressing. Now, the small forward spot, Nicholas Batum got a big fat contract and a big fat payday from Charlotte. You can see it right there, 4 years, roughly $93 million total. This was not a good contract. I'm sure many of you are aware of that, and I do not know what I'm going to do with Batum. He ended up being the second leading scorer on this team this season. I just don't necessarily see him as a 3-year piece, especially considering what his price tag is. But not going to dump him for nothing. Definitely not going to do that. We head to the power forward spot. Christian Wood, 21 years old. He's a 73 overall. He is the one and only power forward option on this team right now, and certainly a position we'd like to maybe upgrade at some point in time. Of course, two user-created players behind him. And then finally, the center spot, where we actually have 4 real centers, none of which are elite, but they are at least real players. We have Cody Zeller here, who, of course, was a longtime Charlotte Hornet, only 24 years old at this point. Tough hairline for a 24-year-old. You got Frank Kaminsky here. Never really ended up being anything too special in the NBA. Had a lot of special moments at Wisconsin in college, though. Spencer Hawes, another really, really dreadful contract. And then finally, 7'2" Roy Hibbert, Indiana Pacers legend. That is the team. That's what we're working with. Again, we are certainly missing a few notable names like Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, Marvin Williams, but, you know, they weren't really going to make things, you know, much, much better. So we're definitely going to make some trades before we get into year one. In all honesty, I think we're kind of at the point where no matter what we do here, you know, for year one, we're not going to be very good. So we're kind of looking ahead to the future, maybe getting some draft capital. I'd also like to confirm, do I have my first round pick this year? We do. That's going to be very, very important, because if we did not, we'd be in a pretty tough spot. But have our first round pick this year, we are certainly going to maybe look to add 1 or 2 more draft picks, along with maybe some marginal upgrades. This being my 30th rebuild here in the Curry era, I probably should have realized this a little bit earlier, but It's pretty obvious at this point that, when I only have garbage to trade, I'm really only getting garbage in return. Now, I don't want to sit here and tell you that Wesley Matthews wasn't a good player because he had a really solid NBA career, but ultimately that contract is not great. We are moving on from 24-year-old Spencer Hawes, who may have actually been a bit older at this time. Nonetheless, getting Wesley Matthews, a shooting guard, is a big position of need for us right now. And again, another multi-year contract, which could end up being a trade piece at some point. So really just getting some nice depth without giving up too many real assets. I think it's a pretty good first deal. Next up is going to be a trade here with the Indiana Pacers. We are sending Roy Hibbert back to Indiana. I have no idea if he is going to finish out his career there, but of course, spent significant time there in his younger years, and in return, we're going to get ourselves Glenn Robinson III. I don't know if Glenn's going to end up being a role player for us throughout this entire video, but he's 22, has another year of team control past this season, and ultimately, for an expiring and aging Roy Hibbert, I think this is a pretty solid pickup for us. So at this point, I definitely am still in need of some sort of power forward. Christian Wood likely will start just given what our other options are, but the unfortunate thing is we don't really have a lot of other, real players to trade. There's actually really nobody. Now, Ramon Sessions, I could look to move on from, but I did realize he actually has a team option after this season, so I don't necessarily have to trade him right now. And obviously everybody else here is just, not a real person with pretty much no value. So I may end up just signing somebody in free agency. I don't love doing it. You guys all pretty much know that. But again, given the lack of, real options I have, I might be kind of forced to. I don't want to sign Yi Jianlian. I've gotten him a decent amount in the past. Same with Carl Landry. So, I guess we're going to opt for Charlie Villanueva. It's certainly not my favorite option, but again, it's what we have to work with right now. So we will sign him to a 1-year minimum contract. He will be the backup behind Christian Wood. And let's go ahead and set this 10-man rotation for what is likely going to be a very dreadful year one. 10-man rotation is set. We're not going to be very good. I don't think that's a major surprise to anybody. Maybe we end up shocking some people and, getting close to a playoff spot, but I would be wildly surprised if we were anywhere near, a positive record. I just don't see it happening. But here's what we're working with for year number one. Kemba Walker. Wesley Matthews is ultimately going to get the nod. This is for a few different reasons. First and foremost, he's actually 2 overalls higher than Jeremy Lamb. And then maybe second and more importantly, it's what 2K suggests. I don't necessarily always do what 2K suggests, but here in this world, in what I'm considering a throwaway season, I don't think it's going to be too big of a deal. Batum obviously starting at the small forward spot, made the decision to go with Christian Wood, the younger Christian Wood over, older, geriatric Charlie Villanueva. And then finally, Cody Zeller will be my starting center. Now, the bench unit will be led by, user-created Jeremy Lamb. Something I do want to check is I actually didn't take a look at his contract. Okay, he's expiring after this year. Probably should have considered that a little bit more. Not really sure why he's expiring. Probably should have at least another year. He's only 23 years old. Of course, this isn't, the actual Jeremy Lamb mold that would be in 2K if they had his rights, but it's what we're working with for now. Frank Kaminsky will be my backup center. You got Glenn Robinson III, Ramon Sessions, and finally, Charlie Villanueva. This is the team. I don't expect to be very good. I don't know who Mike Roberts is. Steve Clifford was the head coach of this team at the time. And let's just get through this, hopefully, really, really bad first season and get a good draft pick. See you guys at the end of year one. Year one was really bad for us. That is not a big surprise to many of you, I am sure. We finished with a record of 20-62. It's dog shit. We basically won 1 out of every 4 games. I think that math checks out. Russell Westbrook's going to be your MVP. Simmons, Rookie of the Year. I've also noticed these are pretty much always the same for year one. And if you guys don't know at this point, for whatever reason, God knows what reason, whoever created, this user-created file put MVP Derrick Rose in the game. I don't know why. And then Ty Lue, 67 wins there in Cleveland. Heck of a season there. Okay, let's go over some of the standings and the stats. I am assuming we're near the bottom of the East. We were at the bottom of the East, and we were tied with the Phoenix Suns for the worst record in all of basketball. And let's dive into some of the numbers. Kemba did his thing. Not really a big surprise there. Nicholas Batum, Wesley Matthews. Now, the good news is, outside of Cody Zeller, who is apparently very upset, it looks like some of these overalls have gone up, which I think is, typically pretty good news, maybe trade value, maybe something else. But there are the numbers. Let's sim through the first playoff series, or first round of the playoffs and first year of the playoffs. Toronto gets it done. Kyle Lowry, Finals MVP. This game loves the Toronto Raptors. Okay, player retirements. Anybody notable from our team here? Maybe Charlie Villanueva? I don't really know. Staff retirements, Hall of Fame jerseys, and then finally some historic changes. You guys all know that. This is a pretty big one for us. The draft lottery. Now, we are projected the number 1 overall pick by 0.1 percentage. I guess we had some sort of tiebreaker on the Suns for that 0.1 percentage, but let's just see what happens, because normally I get screwed in these situations. Okay, we fall to number 2. That's not the end of the world. It's going to guarantee me, one of Jason Tatum, Donovan Mitchell. So I'd be happy with either, and I think I am going to take whichever one does not go number 1. I already forget the name of our head coach. I wasn't going to bring him back, so we are in the market for somebody. This could be a good Stauffer video. The only unfortunate news is we don't really have a lot of money. So I'm just going to hope and pray that, somebody accepts one of my offers, whether it's Budenholzer or Snyder. Looks like Budenholzer actually is a little bit higher. So please, somebody. Okay, Stauffer might be my only hope. Thank God. All right, we approach the 2017 draft. We have the number 2 overall pick, which is really good. Typically in this spot, I always get screwed in the lottery and end up having to trade down quite a bit. Now, while some of our players did go up, Cody Zeller's apparently irritated for whatever reason. He's 24 and he's making $55 million over the next 4 years. You could put me on, Mars. I wouldn't care if I'm making that kind of money. And then other guys down here, a little bit, pissy. I don't really know why, but it just kind of, again, is what it is. But we are going to use the number 2 overall pick in the draft. The Celtics are going to go ahead and take, what the fuck? Okay, which means I can take Tatum or Mitchell. I don't really know. I mean, positionally, I'm not really comfortable anywhere except for point guard. So, I know we have Nicholas Batum. It's pretty hard for me to argue that Jason Tatum isn't the best player in this draft class. Donovan Mitchell is fantastic. Same with Bam Adebayo, but I'm going to go with Tatum. You can call it my Celtics bias. You can call it whatever you want, but I'm taking Jason Tatum. So we'll figure out something, whether he's playing the 3, the 4, and then we'll obviously decide what we want to do with Batum. And then here in round number 2, do I go double Celtics? I could also go with Luke Cornett. It's tough because nobody here is going to be like a significant difference maker in this video. If we had, today's version of Derek White, that would be the obvious pick, but I still think he's going to be my guy. Or I could maybe go with a Chris Boucher, who's, according to our scouting department, a 71 overall, which actually almost am positive that Derek White is the same overall. I'm taking Derek White. I'm not taking Chris Boucher over Derek White, all due respect. 78 for Tatum, 70 for Derek White. One off. Sessions coming back, Robinson coming back, Wood coming back. I don't care if they're pissed about something. And then whoever David McCullum is apparently has a player option for way too much fucking money. All right, free agency here. I don't think we have any big free agents. I mean, Jeremy Lamb's somebody I'd like to bring back. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of cap space right now, which kind of is as I expected. I think if we're going to sign anybody, it'll likely be next year's free agency. So we're going to probably pass on all these big names. Not that any of them were probably willing to come here, but I think we're pretty good for right now anyways. At this point, I am going to look to make some moves. I'd like to make some upgrades across the board. I will look to re-sign Jeremy Lamb as well, and I'll just see you guys with our first trade. We're going to make a trade here with the Los Angeles Lakers. We're going to be sending out 3 players, 2 of which are real: Nicholas Batum, Ramon Sessions, and Trey Hood, whoever that is. In return, we're getting ourselves a 22-year-old Julius Randle and Ivica Zubac. Now, I am very much aware I've gotten Zubac numerous amount of times throughout this series, but he's being included in the trade, and I would be an idiot just to remove him for no reason. So Julius Randle will pretty much all automatically be my starting power forward next season. There's nothing wrong with the way Batum played, but we drafted Jason Tatum, and Batum just wasn't going to start. So I'm excited about this deal. Again, just getting pretty relatively big trades done without giving up any major assets, I think, again, is another really big win. After going ahead and acquiring Ivica Zubac in the deal with the Los Angeles Lakers, Cody Zeller became a bit expendable. Now, do I have to move him? No. He has multiple years left of team control. He's only 24 years old, but he's also a little irritated right now. So we're going to go ahead and move on from him, also dealing out Glenn Robinson III in this trade. Now, in return, we're getting ourselves a 22-year-old Karis LeVert, who has 3 years of team control left. On top of that, we are getting an unprotected first-round pick from the Brooklyn Nets. Soon, it's in 2 years. I know it's not next year, but it could end up being a valuable trade asset at some point throughout this video. So I think this is a pretty big and pretty successful overall trade for us. Again, it's not going to make us super, better or competitive right off the rip, but I think it's a pretty good deal. Finally, to conclude this offseason, we're going to be bringing back Jeremy Lamb on a 2-year, roughly $10.5 million contract. He is not going to be in the starting lineup. He is going to continue to be a bench piece. Will he be a sixth man? I don't know if he'll remain in that role, but I think he is a nice addition to bring back to this team. So that's going to do it. Again, we're not going to be super competitive next year. I know that. We are going to let Derek White back up Kemba Walker. It's a bit risky just considering we're only going to have one final offseason to really make a push and try to be successful and win a championship. But you know what? We have our first round pick in 2018 as well. I think we have pretty much set ourselves up for a really successful, next offseason and likely one more relatively bad season. But we're going to go ahead and trade David McCullum. We have 8 offers here. Thank you very much, Memphis. I will see you guys at the rotation. It's the second season here in Charlotte. Year one was obviously not great. We ended up with a relatively successful offseason, in my opinion, and we've put ourselves in a spot where I think we're going to have a lot of flexibility after this season. Now, I don't know if we're going to be really bad. I don't think that's necessarily the case, but you know what? We've given ourselves quite a few options if we do. Kemba Walker, Jeremy Lamb now in the starting five. Of course, drafted Jason Tatum, number 2 overall. Traded for Julius Randle and Ivica Zubac. New look bench unit as well. Karis LeVert's going to be my backup small forward. Frank Kaminsky, who the game actually recommends I start at center, is going to be the backup center. Wesley Matthews now slides into a backup role. Christian Wood, and finally, Derek White. This is the team, of course, new head coach with Mike Stauffer, and I don't know. I just want to see a positive season. I'm not saying we're going to win 60 games, but if we can, maybe be around 40, 42 wins, I'd consider that a success. I'll see you guys at the end of year 2. Good news and bad news. The good news is we do improve by 10 games. It's only 30 wins. Ultimately, it's not a great season by any means, but we're at the point where we'll still have a pretty good draft pick and, of course, some cap flexibility. Russell Westbrook wins another MVP award. Lonzo Ball, always in Orlando. It's either Orlando or Dallas, I'm always seeing. Jamal Crawford, your 6th man of the year. You got Kawhi winning Depoy. Jaylen Brown, most improved. And then Todd James, whoever that is, coach of the Celtics, is your coach of the year. Okay, it is time for the standings. Now, we were not great. We were the 11 seed here with 30 wins, 52 losses. Should still have a relatively high lottery pick. Now, it's not going to be in the top 5, but we'll see what we end up doing with it. Let's go over some stats real quick. Kemba Walker still doing his thing. Got a little bit more help here with the additions of Randle, Tatum, and Zubac. You got Jeremy Lamb, Frank Kaminsky, LeVert, Matthews, Wood, and then Derek White. Honestly, I thought Jeremy Lamb would score a few more points. Led in rebounds by Randle, led in assists by Kemba. So for the second straight year, we will not be participating in the playoffs. Not exactly a crazy surprise. In the Chicago, well, that makes some sense. I was like, what the hell are the mid-2010s Bulls doing here in the NBA Finals? But they signed a guy by the name of Steph Curry, who ended up being pretty good. All right, player retirements here. Not really sure if there would be anybody for us. I don't think so. We, of course, are going to see what happens in the lottery. Of course, only have our draft pick, and it is projected to be number 10 right now, which is a little lower than I was hoping, but it's okay. Oh, my God, we got lucky. We got very lucky as we jump all the way up to number 3. Now, could I maybe do something with that? Always great when luck's on my side for the final rebuild here in the Curry era. I 1000% will take that. Now, do we have any other draft picks? We have our number 2 overall, or number 24 overall pick in round 2. And, of course, we have the Nets pick, which is going to be a tradable asset as well. So I might move this 3rd overall pick. I might try to also go ahead and maybe trade up a little bit. I have not decided yet. For whatever reasons, it seems like centers just do not do well in this system. They all are ended up kind of pissed off for whatever reason. I'm going to let you know right now, I have no idea how this backcourt is going to work, but I would be an absolute idiot to pass up on this deal here from the Portland Trail Blazers. They are willing to deal me Damian Lillard for Jeremy Lamb, the 3rd overall pick, and a future first as well. And in return, we're getting, of course, Dame, and along with that is Mason Plumlee. So, yeah, it's going to be an undersized backcourt with him and Kemba Walker, but this is a huge superstar addition to the team that I'm honestly really shocked I'm even being offered right now. So, of course, it might limit us a little bit financially in terms of signing a big free agent, but to get a guy like Damian Lillard, it is basically like signing a free agent anyways. So I think we do still have a 2nd round pick. I don't know why I hopped into the draft. I really don't need it. So we're going to sim to the end of this. Of course, we'll end up not drafting anybody. And yeah, I'm, again, still wildly shocked we were somehow able to land Damian Lillard. But I'll take it. All right, qualifying offers. I will qualify Christian Wood and, of course, Julius Randle here as well. We take a look at a pretty loaded free agency where we're unfortunately not really going to have a ton of money. Well, there's actually a world out there where we could clear up some cap space and maybe get somebody. Now, I mean, Paul George, probably an option for us. Also could go after Isaiah Thomas, and we just don't really need a 3rd small guard on this team. Blake Griffin has a contract from the Jazz. Could he maybe be interested in one from... How much is he asking for? I am just curious. He's asking for about $30 million. We currently have about $16 million. You know what? We actually might be able to clear this up. If I move on from Wesley Matthews, which, again, will not be very hard, I might be able to get this done. I'm going to give it a go anyways. Thank you very much, Utah. And then could I maybe get Blake Griffin here? I'd certainly be willing to entertain it. That's a max player option, no trade clause. And then, of course, we also have to keep an eye on Julius Randle here. We got Blake Griffin. We get Blake Griffin. And now my goal is finding a way to keep Julius Randle as well. Now, that might mean me going ahead and trading, either Frank Kaminsky or Zubac. Or I could just move on from Mason Plumlee. I mean, ultimately, we have 3 centers here. So if I move Plumlee, see, that's the problem. I want to try to get a center who's just a little bit better, but also like cheaper, which is, again, not really an easy thing to do right now. Can I get Miles Turner? Miles Turner would be a fantastic addition to this team. They want, yeah, that's it. Let me throw in Damian Lillard for Lonnie Walker. Yeah, no, I don't think so. I'll give you Zubats as well, and then I have some draft capital that I think could maybe entertain you if you'd be interested. I know this is probably a gross overpay for Miles Turner, but he's making pretty much the perfect amount of money, and it is also going to allow me to keep Julius Randle. So Blake Griffin, welcome to the team. Christian Wood can ultimately go. I'm not super worried about that. We're going to wait on Randle. Actually, I don't even have to renounce Wood. I can just get Blake. Randle has 3 offers. He's not accepting one of those. Do not renounce either of them. Blake's going to be brought in, and then we're, of course, going to bring back Julius Randle here as well. So, yeah, I'm super excited about that. I actually really don't need Christian Wood. I don't know if I could maybe trade him somewhere else, but we have significantly upgraded this team. I'm going to probably play Kemba at the 1 and have Dame play the 2 guard spot just because he's like an inch taller. By no means, again, is it a perfect fit, but again, this is easily the best team we've had so far. So my shooting guard options here in free agency, I actually wouldn't mind Josh Richardson. I think he might go up in overall too, and then I'll just let Christian Wood go. So yeah, man, that's going to be the team entering the 3rd and final regular season here. Again, haven't even been in the playoffs yet, and we are hoping to win a championship, but I think this is, again, about as good as it's going to get. So I'll just see you guys with the rotation at the start of year 3. Year 3, the final season here in Charlotte. We have yet to be in the playoffs. We just had an absolutely insane offseason where we put together this God Squad very, very quickly. Everything happened and went pretty much according to my, well, I wouldn't say plan because I didn't really plan much of it, but went the way I was kind of hoping an offseason would go in my head. Kemba Walker, Damian Lillard, Jason Tatum, Blake Griffin, Miles Turner. Bench unit, Julius Randle, Karis LeVert, Frank Kaminsky, Josh Richardson, and then Derek White. Of course, the guards are playing, less minutes than normal. Typically, I don't have big men. Julius Randle's a power forward as 6th man, but when he's clearly the best player off this bench, and we have 2 superstar guards, it's okay. Of course, Mike Stauffer still here as our head coach as well, and for the final video, man, I'm hoping everything can click at the right time and we can get this team a championship. See you guys at the end of year 3. I think for the first time in one of these rebuilds, Chris Paul actually stayed with the Clippers. I feel like every time I see him winning an MVP award in one of these, rebuilds, it's in a different jersey. Nonetheless, and more importantly, we go 66-16. Of course, it is our best record yet, and we are hoping this is the team that can carry us to a championship. Luka ended up in Philadelphia, Rookie of the Year. You got whoever the hell that is, a 6th man. Kawhi wins Depoy. Kyle Anderson, most improved. And Stephen Butler, we still didn't even have the best record in the East. We're going to be the 2 seed. Disappointing. I don't know what this game's fetish is for the Raptors. Like, don't get me wrong, they're a good team and always were. But they were never, like, pushing 70 wins in a pretty good East. So we will see. Here are the numbers. Everything's relatively spread out. Not a single guy was 20-plus points, but we had a lot of guys who could really score the basketball. So I'm not super worried about it. You guys are very much aware of my philosophy. If we're winning games, doesn't matter. Ben Simmons, Donovan, what the hell? This is a 7 seed. I understand it's rookie Luka, 2nd year Donovan Mitchell, but give me a fucking break, dude. I mean, good God. This cannot be a 7. Okay, well, we're beating the shit out of them, but God, that's annoying. And the Wizards here in round 2. Not getting much easier. This is a really, really talented group. And, I think we're better, but I'm still nervous. They do win game 3. We win game 4. We're on to the East Finals to take on the 1 seed Toronto Raptors. Of course, they do have home court advantage because they were 1 game better than us. But, on paper, is this team better? I don't think it is. I mean, again, really, really talented backcourt, but we got a pretty damn good backcourt ourselves. So, on to the East Finals. We split the first 2 on the road. We win game 3 and game 4 at home, and we win the series in 5. Show them who's boss in advance to take on the Clippers here in the NBA Finals. Oh my God, they somehow added Carmelo to this team. Okay, of course we did take Blake Griffin from them, so they were definitely looking for somebody out there. We win game 1 and game 2. And game 3, and we are still in Los Angeles for game 4, looking to sweep the Clippers and close them out on their home floor. Back and forth affair. I'd like to get some gameplay to cap off the Curry era rebuilds. Maybe it'll be close, getting a little bit exciting, and I will just see you guys in there. We had a relatively comfortable lead at one point, and then we've been outscored 24-16 here in the 4th, which is why we find ourselves in a 1-point ball game. Look at the numbers that Blake Griffin is putting up right now. Just absolutely asinine. We're still in a good spot, though, right? Obviously, we are up pickpocketed. Okay, Blake, thank you. Obviously, we're up 3-0 in the series, and if I don't choke this one, we're going to sweep the Clippers out of their own building. At this point, I will try to focus on the gameplay a little bit because, of course, this one... Okay, they took a timeout. I was like, foul? Of course, this one is still in reach, so I got to focus a little bit. But what we can do right now is I guess we can chat a little bit, about the mid-2010s Hornets, the Kemba Walker years that were really, really fun. I mean, Kemba was never, I wouldn't say Kemba was a superstar by any means. He was a really good point guard. Was he a superstar? Was he a Hall of Fame talent? No, I think we're all probably in agreement on that. But Kemba was an absolute bucket. Kemba was a problem at one point in time, and obviously has one of the most iconic moments in all of college basketball history, the cardiac Kemba at Madison Square Garden. If you don't remember it or you're too young, please go watch it because it was, God, man, that era of college basketball especially was so fun. But nonetheless, they were just never really able to get him any sort of, that's a horrible shot. They were never really able to get him any sort of serious help. And, that's pretty much on the Clippers' dysfunction. Michael Jordan is one of, if not the greatest basketball player of all time, but he's also one of the worst owners ever. He made a lot of decisions, whether it was in the draft or free agency, that just ended up completely biting their team in the ass, and was really kind of the main reason why the Hornets were never really able to make some noise, because they obviously had a guy that they knew was really, was that a foul? Okay. They had a guy, oh, DJ fouled out. That's actually big. They had a guy who they knew was really good, knew was kind of leading their franchise, and were going to hope could do something promising, but no disrespect to the Nicholas Batums or the Jeremy Lambs or the Marvin Williams of the world, but that's not enough. That's not enough to compete in an Eastern Conference that, had LeBron in the Cavs, had, call me crazy, Isaiah in the Celtics, had DeMar, Kyle Lowry in the Raptors, and just all these teams that were really competitive, but were just always a step or two or three ahead of this Hornets team in this, Charlotte basketball era. So it's sad, man. It sucks to see, especially because when you look at the Hornets today, they're not really any better. They might even be more dysfunctional, if you will. Who the hell knows what's going to happen with LaMelo this offseason. So I see this as an opportunity for them. I think at this point of their franchise, they're kind of at a breaking point one way or another. You have to make a decision on LaMelo. You have to figure out if you can get him the proper help. But obviously, those days aren't behind you, but these ones are here, man. And Kemba had a really special career. So those are just my thoughts, on the Hornets. Obviously, it weren't long led by Kemba, but they were led by him for a while and had a lot of really fun years. So Chris Paul, speaking of Kemba, oh, wow. I thought Miles might have got a clean block there, but he did not. Chris Paul going to be going to the charity stripe, putting up two, probably taking the lead back. Wow, he has 38 on the night. Well, he did win an MVP for a reason. Unfortunately, we're going to have to stop him from getting a finals MVP today because I'd like to win this series and win this game and close things out. So CP3, second free throw for him is going to be up. It is going to be good. We are back down by 1:08 on the clock. Damian Lillard has been giving them some trouble. They have not been able to stop Dame yet. I don't really see a way that they're able to do that right now. Good screen here by Blake. Back out. Nope, not what I was doing. Ooh. Ooh. That's what pisses me off about this game the most, I think, is just, fucking goddamn it. I understand that, the NBA players miss shots. They even miss wide open shots at times. The amount of times I've missed like point blank layups in this game for like no apparent fucking reason, it drives me absolutely crazy. Dame, deep three. Okay, I didn't realize I was fading. It just drives me crazy. Like, Miles Turner should have been easily able to put that one up. Carmelo's going to put that one in. This one's pretty much over at this point, but we're going to beat them. It doesn't matter. You sickos who love the shitty gameplay and love watching me choke, you probably enjoyed that one. I didn't. Let's please win this. Thank you very much. Blake Griffin going to be your finals MVP. Ultimately, a really fun rebuild. Good way to cap it off. Happy we were able to get it done with a championship. It just wouldn't have felt right if we weren't really able to get that done. But we put together a really good team, and things escalated really quickly last offseason. It felt like every single move and every single like really, really great trade that could have possibly happened, every great free agent signing, kind of all came together at once, and I'm really happy that it did. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. It was a great way to cap off this series, and once again, just thank you guys for all the support throughout it. We are definitely looking for other series ideas. A lot of you have had some super great ideas, and I really do appreciate them, and I'm definitely considering everything moving forward. So anything else you guys want to see, let me hear it all down below in the comment section. But that's going to do it for me. As always, thanks so much for watching. I love you guys. I'll catch you guys all in the next one.